Okay.
Okay, so just brief overview. We are recording a little late, so I'm going to start at again with talking about vulnerability in your business. But yes, in the past, I never really talked about my binge eating disorder or struggle with my food addiction. But I always look to food for loneliness or depression. Anytime that I have any emotions, I really always look to food. And so it was a few months back that I realized I really need to start sharing this with people because that's what's going to make people relate to me. And so today, one of my posts was because I was feeling just pretty lonely. My boyfriend just left this morning to go work down south, so he's going to be gone for a few months. My son is out of town with his family. My entire family just left town. I've had quite a few just emotional realizations in my life over the past few days. And normally in the past, in fact, even today, after almost, over a year and a half of coaching and being on a health journey, I'm not going to lie, guys, the first thought that came to my head when I woke up this morning, I had to go drop my boyfriend off at the shop to go meet up with all the guys. And I drove right by McDonald's and it was like 6:45 in the morning. And in my head, I was saying like, why don't you just stop by McDonald's and get a few Egg McMuffins and get back to your apartment and just go back to bed because I'm sore as hell from my size certification that I just did the other day. Like seriously, if you guys ever get certified in something, just be ready to be dead for like 2 days after that. So I was seriously like, I had all these excuses that were telling me like, it's okay because, nobody's watching because everybody in your life just left and isn't here right now. And so you're home in your apartment by yourself and it's early in the morning and you can go and eat these Egg McMuffins and just go to bed and stare at the TV. And you can allow yourself that because you're so sore and so tired. And nobody will ever know. And that was seriously the thought process that went through my head. And instead of doing that, I drove right past that McDonald's and I went home and I got in my exercise clothes and I exercised. And so I decided, well, that's what I'm going to post about today. And I started my post with what's one of my biggest binge triggers? Loneliness. And so I started talking about that I've realized that in my life, when I get really lonely, my head tells me to just go fill the void with food and that I chose not to do that today. And so I had people messaging me and telling me like, man, it's so refreshing to hear this and it hits so close to home and I'm so proud of you for doing that. And it's so inspiring because I would have been the girl who caved and ate the Egg McMuffin. And it's going to make me think twice about when I'm lonely next time to keep driving past that McDonald's. And, so it's really cool. So did I get a direct challenge pack sale out of that? No. But what I did do is I inspired a bunch of people and I let people know like, you're not the only one who feels that way and you're not the only one who goes through that. And that's where the relationship building really starts is when you start sharing those things with people, is when people see that you're relatable, that you're not just some Beachbody coach who is just trying to make a sale, that you're someone who's willing to put it out there, what you've been through. And a perfect example too is I actually saw another coach who posted today just some 21-day fix containers. It was a stock photo and it was just the containers and a picture of Autumn Calabrese. And some commented on her photo and was like, oh, so let me guess. You just friend requested me because you sell this stuff and you want me to buy into it and buy this from you. And I'm disgusted by you and blah, blah, blah. And I thought that her comment was a little out of left field and was pretty rude. But at the same time, it made me stop and say, wow, that's what goes through some people's heads when they see stock photos and when they see things like that. Me personally, I would just keep scrolling by it or just unfollow them. I wouldn't be as rude as to say like, oh, so you must have just friend requested me for this. But again, it was just an example that, oh, that's what goes through people's head when they see things like that. But when they see a story, then they're not seeing just you as Beachbody. Your face isn't blue and white to them and you're not screaming Beachbody to them. They're relating to you and they're relating to your story. And then you are making yourself the product. That's when you truly become the product, is when you really share. And I know that Shannon had a really great one too that I want you to kind of touch on because you've been sharing a lot that I know has been hard for you lately.
Yeah. So just, like Laurel said, before being a coach, there was a lot of things that, like, in a million years, I would have never shared on social media. And, when you go on Facebook, I heard this at Summit and it stuck with me, which was like, no one wants to see the highlight reel. They want to see the behind the scenes pass. So when they go on Facebook and they go on wherever, they're seeing the highlight reel. They're seeing everyone, oh, look how beautiful my family is. Oh, look how perfect our life is. Look, I bought a new car. Like, that's what they get to see. They get to see the highlight reel, the best things of your day, the best things of your life. But while that's great, most people, can't really relate to that, or they get sick of it and they're like, oh my God, all this chick does is brag about how awesome her life is, while I'm over here drowning in debt. I'm fat, I can't fit into my clothes. I feel disgusting. And I just want to sit here and eat. Oh, hey, Deeks. Oh no, she's fine. Do you want me to stay here or go in the other room now? Because I'm going to be talking. Okay, sorry. So anyways, I've talked to Laurel. Laurel and I, obviously, as success partners, we've shared a lot together, our ups and our downs, and shared a lot with each other that we haven't shared with you guys or shared on social media. So she already knew a lot of what I've been sharing, but so the other day, what I did was I made a blog about the bankruptcy that my husband and I are currently going through. And I posted that on my page, and the response was just overwhelming to me. I got so many comments and likes, and even more than that was the number of people who personally messaged me and said, thank you so much for sharing that. We're going through the same thing, or we're considering that right now. And do you have any advice? Or that was so brave of you, that really helped me out. I needed to see that today. I was having such a bad day. And so many people saying, it's so refreshing. The same words Laurel said. It's so refreshing to see somebody sharing that part of their life. Because people get sick of the highlight reel. They get sick of seeing everything is perfect, everything is great. They want to relate to people on a deeper level. That's what social media is about. It's about relating to people. So if you don't give them something to relate to you about, they're going to keep scrolling. They're not going to care. Okay? They don't care how many times you post about Shakeology. That's great. It's another protein shake to them. They don't care. Okay? They want to know the story. They want to know what drives you, what fuels you. What is that thing about you? So sharing that for me, was it hard? Hell yeah. Like, I was shaking. I wrote that blog and then I didn't publish it for probably 3 days. And then when I published it, I sat there and I was like, do I really want to post it on Facebook? And when I posted it on Facebook, I was shaking because I was like, I really don't know what people are going to say. Are people going to judge me? What's going to happen? But just like everything I've learned in this business, the more you push yourself outside of your comfort zone towards growth, just the better you become as a person. And like Laurel said, did I get a challenge pack sale out of doing that? Hell no. Not like someone contacted me and was like, oh my gosh, your story about bankruptcy was so amazing. Let me buy 6 challenge packs from you. No one did that. That's stupid. No. But people are relating to me and I'm building relationships. And that's what our business is about. Our business is about building relationships. So, when you start looking at it from that perspective of how can I add value to someone's life today? How can I build a relationship with people and let them know, like, I'm a human, I'm a real person. I'm not perfect. I'm not fake, and that to me, I get happier when I see people send me messages or comment on my post saying, I love how real you are. I love that you don't try to be fake. You don't try and make everything look perfect. Like, I was talking to someone the other day who, honestly, I met this person one time, like 10 years ago. And I was talking to him on the phone and he's like, I love that you put stuff about you and your husband on Facebook. He's like, because it just cracks me up. He's like, my wife would kill me if I put the stuff on Facebook that you do about you guys. He's like, but I love it. It's so real and honest, and you just put it out there. And he's like, and a lot of people don't do that. So, it's true. A lot of people don't do that. So I'm not saying you got to just put your whole life out there and be like, hey guys, I just peed. Okay. I wrote a blog about that, but still, but find that thing that you're like, people can relate to me about this topic, and dive into it, so whatever your thing is, dive into it. And I've been racking my brain about it. And honestly, the only thing I can she just fell. The only thing I can come up with is, honestly, my thing is going to be being real. Like, I don't sugarcoat stuff. I don't try to fake it. Like, if I had a rough workout, I'm going to tell you. If I didn't want to work out, I'm going to tell you. If I didn't work out, I'm going to tell you, so find that thing. Laurel's is binge eating. Mine is that I struggle with a lot of things.
Yeah. Another thing and it doesn't have to be one specific thing. Like, another thing of mine is that, I have a very sordid past. I mean, I grew up with a father who was addicted to drugs and alcohol. And so that was another thing that was so incredibly hard for me to share, because I didn't graduate high school. I went down the path of doing drugs and alcohol because that's what I was introduced to at the age of 12. And so I was scared shitless to admit that to people, because, for me to tell people, hey, I've been drinking for, since I was 13 years old, to have to admit that to people and then say, oh, now I'm a promote health and I'm a fitness instructor. I was scared that people are going to be like, well, why should I put my trust in you? Because you were a degenerate growing up. But really it was the exact opposite, where people were like, oh my gosh, that is so cool to see that how far you've come and that lives really can change, especially the people who know me from back then and know me now. I've also had this fear of people thinking like, oh God, I know her from who she used to be and she's just being fake now. But the people who know me and really take the time to talk to me and answer my messages and really hear my story, they're like, no, we can see real change in you, and we can see that this is real for you. And this is so inspiring to see that I could be that person too. So don't ever be afraid. One thing that my upline, Melissa McAllister, says is, if you are sitting there worrying so much about taking a picture and getting it at the perfect angle and having the perfect filter and the perfect words on top of the picture and making it this, a perfect picture on Facebook, stop putting so much time and effort into that and put your effort into just speaking from the heart. Just take a picture and just put a story with it. And if you have a good story with your picture, obviously you don't want a picture with terrible lighting where they can't see anything. But all I'm saying is if you're going to sit there and spend 45 minutes on trying to do the perfect pose and get the perfect filter and make it all perfect, spend that 45 minutes on thinking really deep and digging deep on what your story is and what story is going to go with that picture, because your time is much better spent with that than it is trying to get the exact right lighting and make it seem like, you're just perfect in everything you do. Because I'm telling you, people are going to relate so much more to the story that goes with the picture than this, just beautiful picture on Facebook. So when you really just focus on speaking from the heart, then people really relate to it. And if you're sitting there saying, well, man, I really don't know what my thing is, or I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about. Just like Shannon said, it took her 3 days to put that blog out. My blog about my dad, it took me about 3 months to even come to terms with the fact that I should write it. Mm-hmm. It took me a good 12 years to actually cope with what I had gone through. Then it took me about 3 months to actually decide that I was gonna even write it. And then it took me about a week to actually sit down and do it. And then it took me another week to even hit post. So, if it takes some time, that's okay. But if it's that thing that, is something that you've dealt with really big in your life and you're going, I really can't share that. I'm telling you, that is the thing. If your hands are shaking when you're hitting enter on your keyboard, that is the thing that is going to get like 150 likes. That is the thing that is going to get everybody commenting and coming to you and saying, wow, you are so inspiring. Like, the thing that you want to hide the most from people is the thing that people are going to respect the most about you, because it takes balls, you guys. It takes a lot to put that out there. So when people see you being vulnerable, that's when they're going to stop looking at you as just, oh, somebody who's just trying to sell me a fitness program. That's when they're going to look at you as like a real person, as somebody who is, really strong and really vulnerable and really, like I said, just has a pair, because it's not easy to put it out there. It's still, there's certain days where, I don't want to put it out there. I'm like, I just want to lay here in my bed and not talk about this because I'm embarrassed, because I've come this far in my journey and now I've had a setback. And so I don't want people to see that in me. I want people to see me continuing to progress. But when I take my ego and I put it aside and I check myself at the door and I say, this is what I need to talk about, I talk about it, and not only does it help everybody else, but you know what it ends up doing? It ends up helping you grow as a person too, because when you have people that come to you and tell you like, man, I really needed to hear that, and that's so inspirational, and God, I have so many setbacks too, it makes you stop and say, oh, that's right. I'm still human, and there's still people that need to hear this. And it really helps you. Like, it's almost like extra personal development for you when you put those things out there, because it really shows you how many people are still struggling and how many people really want to hear that stuff, as opposed to the perfect Barbie story.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% correct. And, like Laurel said, that thing that you're trying to hide, that you don't want people to find out, like, that is usually the thing that people want to hear and that can help somebody. That's the thing that is really going to resonate with somebody. So, it doesn't have to be a post that you make tonight or this week or next week. It is something, and when you figure out what that thing is, like Laurel said, it's something that you can weave into what you post about all the time. So, like, she doesn't have to post every day the whole story about her dad or the whole story about her binge eating. She can now, because she's addressed it so many times, and kind of breadcrumbed it along, and she has, put it out there, she can now weave that into other posts. So she can put a post up about Shakeology, but have a story to go along with it and about how it's changed her life because of XYZ that's happened to her in the past, or what she would have done before, and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things where you can use it to weave into other posts, and people can see that continuity and consistency.
Right. So, like, as someone, now that I've already done a post about binge eating, I don't have to, like, today I didn't have to do a big long post about it. I was just able to start my post with, what's one of my biggest binge triggers, ... loneliness. And then I talked about today, what my struggle today was and how I related it back to that. Because people who've been following me on my like page for a long time, they already know, because I've been breadcrumbing it for so long, and they've read my blog. And, and what it also does is it kind of can revert people back to my blog, because if someone does post, like a new follower or something, if they post and say, oh my gosh, I never knew that you struggled with binge eating, I can say, yeah, I have a blog about it. And I post my blog post to the comment page. And so then it has people going and subscribing to my blog. Oh, I didn't even know you had a blog. So it brings them, it all ties together. And same with, now that Shannon has put out there that she struggled with, bankruptcy and all that, she can always relate, like, everything that Beachbody's doing financially for her. She can always kind of do a quick post about that. Like, I remember when Deke and I were going through bankruptcy, how hard it was and how much Beachbody has changed our lives, and, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't have to retell that whole long story now, because she's put the meat of it out there, but she can always breadcrumb and relate back to it. So it kind of just becomes your niche, and you start finding people that are really relatable as a result of that.
Right. So I'm going to find a lot of broke people who can't buy challenge packs. So maybe not the best story. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, so I hope some of you can start thinking about, your thing that you're going to want to start addressing in your posts, and maybe that one thing that you can get out there and start sharing about to bless others with. It really is, a way to bless others when you start speaking from the heart, because so many others need to hear that. So I did hear, does anyone have anything to add or any questions before we kind of wrap it up? No?
I just wanted to add really quick, and then I'll shut up because I know I talked a lot, but one thing that Amy Silverman talked about on a YouTube video too was like negative people. So if you are really worried about, negative people saying something about what you have to talk about or whatever, which again, I've never gotten negative feedback when I'm being really real like that, but I have gotten negative feedback on, certain Beachbody posts or whatever. But if you are really worried about it, a piece of advice that Amy Silverman gave that I thought was really great is, you just have to really have that rhino skin. You have to have really thick skin and just put it out there. But also know that like you're in charge of your life and you're in charge of your Facebook page, and you can totally control who's on it and who's not. And it's okay to, if someone's that negative, like it's okay to just completely delete them out of your page and block them. You don't have to listen to what they have to say. And it doesn't mean that you're someone who's just running away from the situation. It just means that you don't have time for that situation. So, if you are really worried about that kind of stuff, which I think that's a big fear of every coach is, just remember that like you're in control of your own life and you're in control of who sees your stuff. And if they're that negative and ugly, then you really don't need them in your life anyway. And you can easily block them and keep on sharing your story, because everybody is going to want to hear it. And the people who don't, you just don't have time for in your life.
Yeah. Facebook has an awesome delete button.
And block.
So I've used it many a times on a post. If someone posts something, a stupid comment, and delete. I don't need that on my post. No, it's my page, my Facebook, my business. Sorry. Yeah. So.
Bye, Felicia.
Yep. So I'm so glad you guys all made it on the call tonight. I know this was probably like a little deep and a little bit like, man, I really got to like come up with something, but know that it's just something to kind of think about. Honestly, guys, I've been thinking about mine since Summit. It took me a long time to wrap my head around everything. So just really, think about it. I prayed over it and, get to the point where you feel secure and know what you're going to talk about and how. And I heard a great line in a song. Let me say, just before the call, I posted about my anxiety for the first time and getting a ton of comments. See, that's awesome. And actually, Bridget did a great post about being overwhelmed as a single mother. She just did a post about that I saw right before we got on the call. That was really good too, kind of opening up a little bit. So the more you open up, the more people are going to respond. So yeah, I heard this quote in a song today, and I just thought it was perfect. And it says, which is kind of funny, but it says, perfection is my enemy. And I think that is so true for all of us. It really is. Perfection is my enemy, because we all try to be so perfect all the time. And it's just going to tear you down in the end if you try to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. Don't try to be. Yes, it's a great song, isn't it? So don't try to be perfect. Just be you. There's only one of you, and you're awesome. And we love all of you. So I can't wait to see some awesomeness, some awesome posts coming out, and learning more and more about each and every one of you. So yay. Okay. Well, have a good night, guys. Thank you so much for getting on the call. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Laurel, especially.
And you too. All right, ladies, have a good night.
Bye.